Hello, friends. Today we're going to do the Stand with Trans Kids tag, which was created by Leo Bancroft, who tagged everybody that could see the video. Um, so, firstly, I have to tag some people. So, I don't know a lot of people on BookTube yet. So, I'm just going to tag two of my friends, Katey Bellew and Laura at Aquamarine18. So just get the questions up here. Yeah, I've tagged some fabulous friends. um, Tell us about some books on your TBR pile featuring a trans non-binary character or nonfiction about trans non-binary stuff. So the book that I have currently to read is one that I actually have a story in. It's called Xenocultivars, Stories of Queer Growth. And there are quite a few gender nonconforming and trans authors who contributed to this collection. This is speculative fiction that has a theme of growth in terms of like plant analogies. So you can see there's all these lovely succulents and a garden there. Recommend a favorite book, show, or movie featuring a trans or non-binary character. Now, I run the risk of seeming very egotistical with this one, but um, one of my most recent stories that I wrote, which is Muneera and the Moon, features a trans character. And I feel very strongly about this particular story. It was very important to me when I was writing it, and it was a very powerful experience. It's my favorite work that I've done so far. And so I'll leave a link in the description to where you can read it. And hopefully you'll have a similar experience. It's a fantasy romance that's inspired by Palestinian folklore, in particular jinn lore and folk religion. Okay, so the next question is, everyone has their own journey and no one demographic is a monolith. Recommend a book from a journey, however you define. Mom is snoring in the next room. Recommend a book with a journey, however you define that. Um, I don't have it here, so I can't show it to you, but Sonia Nimir's Wondrous Journeys in Strange Lands is is the book that comes to mind. None of us knows everything, even about our own identities, especially since we're not a monolith and each have our own journey. What is a book that taught you something, either about yourself or the world around you? The novella that I'm working on right now is something that I've written a lot of romance lately, and my own struggles with writing have um, taught me that I'm aromantic. In fact, the um, the difficulty that I was having was like, I know what it looks like when characters are in love, and I know what it looks like when they're not in love. I know what it looks like when they're in queer platonic relationships, and all of these shades in between. But I'm not sure like how you go from not being in love to being in love. And one of my friends, when I was articulating exactly where I was having difficulty with this, suggested that I might want to look into what's called WTF romantic or qua romantic. And once I realized that there was such a thing where you don't actually know what romance is when you're comparing it to something like, or romantic attraction, I should say. Um, so like what differentiates romantic attraction from sexual attraction, from platonic attraction, or aesthetic attraction, or physical attraction? um, and I found that I really did not. I don't understand the difference between romantic attraction and these other ones. So that's a micro label that really fits me well. So I came about this from reading, or not from reading, but from actually writing romantic stories. And I would have like first readers who were allo-romantic, who could kind of clue me in to whether I was doing it right and if it was coming across like in a natural way. Um, so yeah, that was really interesting. When things are hard in the world or in our lives, sometimes there are things we can do to help center and refocus ourselves, to bring joy, to keep us going, to keep living, resisting, being our authentically amazing selves. So what are things you do to center yourself and find joy? There's a lot that I have to do because I have post traumatic stress disorder, and I've been working for years on like a toolkit of different strategies that I can use when I have a flare up. I meditate every day. I have this ongoing practice and it's very minimal. I find that the most useful advice that I came across was make things so simple that it's easy for you to accomplish whatever it is that you want to do. And so I set myself the goal of meditating for a minute a day. And I usually do that before bed. I use a guided meditation. And I've been able to keep that up for a number of weeks straight. So that's the first time that I've sort of been able to keep going with a regular routine of meditating. And when things get really bad, I tend to distract myself with other things, like I will do reading. I used to go for walks. That was really beneficial to me, but I haven't had a lot of time to get out lately. So I haven't been able to tap into that particular coping skill. Um, but just doing general self care, like practicing compassion with myself. And as for things that make me feel joyful, a lot of my hobbies, I guess you would call them, even my writing, I tend to find that it's really enjoyable to do the drafting part. And I'm struggling a little bit with the revising, but the sort of flinging myself into a new story and the exploration part of it, the even sometimes a little bit of the research, but I don't get trapped in the research part. Um, and also when you do get some sort of feedback, I find it very enjoyable, even if it's a rejection, which a lot of people don't understand. I often will say that something is a good rejection, and they're like, "What do you mean? Like, are you are you serious about this? Or is this like a writer joke?" Um, but when I get a rejection that's a personal rejection that has feedback and comments about my story, I consider that a good rejection. Or if it takes a long time for the story to bounce back, so as I call it, that tends to mean that it's gone through to a higher level. Um, so I'm just I tend to be happy regardless of whether I get like a rejection or an acceptance. So long as I get some kind of acknowledgement of the story, I don't do well with the waiting part, which writing is a lot of waiting, and they don't tell you that, but it's so much waiting. And also, Used to do gardening. That's something that I want to do some more of. I'm going to have a video later about an update on my like general lifestyle goals, because there's some quite substantial change going on there. Um, but yeah, those are some of the things. I'll watch movies with friends online, or not movies, but like YouTube. I'll watch YouTube with my friends. Spend time with my friends, and also I play. I'm a dungeon master for a D&D game that we're doing, Curse of Strahd, which is really enjoyable. Um, yeah. So, what's your walk-on music or your feel at home in your body music? I have entire playlists for this, so I'm not going to get into all of them, but I actually have, like, I've put together a list which is for well, I have one for my book projects, and then I have one that's a general like self-care or like boosting playlist. Finding mentors, people of wisdom, or heroes can be another way to help us navigate life. Who are some of your mentors? Can you share something they taught you or inspired you to learn more about? I would say I have an actual mentor, which is I have a writing mentor from the my writers union. Her name is Primi Mohammed, and she writes like I. She's a prolific novella writer, and a scientist as well. So um, I'm really excited to start working with her. We haven't actually done much yet, so um, I'm looking forward to that. And sort of informally, writers that appeared in Lightspeed magazines, particularly Darcy Little Badger and Fenderson to Jelly Clark, have inspired me to write short fiction, short speculative fiction. And it was simply by reading their work. So um, I'm tremendously inspired by my peers. Who are some out trans or non-binary booktubers, Instagrammers, authors, actors, etc., who you would like to shout out? Now, I don't know very many people on booktube or on Instagram. Um, but I will say I want to shout out to Iasmin Omar Atta, who is they are um, non-binary Palestinian speculative fiction, um, and graphic novel, comic arts, and like game dev as well, artist. And they are coming out with a novel soon, which is called Nyla and the Jinn, I think. Nayla and the Jinn. I'll definitely be reading that and profiling it, featuring it on my channel when it comes out. So you go to my Read Palestinian Speculative Fiction reading list, which I'll put in the description. Um, you'll find all of Yasmin's works that fall under that category toward the bottom of the list. So yeah. And the last question is, what are some organizations you'd shout out for supporting trans kids or trans folks? What I actually chose for this is there's an anthology when all of these horrible um, transphobic policies were announced in Texas. A lot of my peers got together and organized a anthology of horror by trans writers, and it's called "Your Body Is Not Your Body," and I'll put a cover here. It is out now, and a portion of the proceeds will go to Equality Texas. That was the Stand with Trans Kids tag by Leo Bancroft. Thank you for tagging me. I look forward to seeing more videos for this tag. I know there's a playlist that you can tap into. So I'll see you next time. Take care. Bye.